Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? This is Herspiration Happy Hour. Happy Wednesday and welcome to another episode of Herspiration Happy Hour. I'm telling you, I'm so tired. I'm dragging today.
Y'all, she is all over the country, y'all. She is tired.
I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. But it is Wednesday and it's glorious to be here with you all today again for another Wednesday. We have another great guest and she's going to be absolutely amazing. But this is your unapologetic diva, Dr. G.
And this is Louisa Harrell, aka the Blue Phoenix.
And then, Cortina is in session right now, and Tessina is having some, working some time with her family. So, Cortina might pop in after her session is over. And of course, Tessina will be with us, if not next week, this week. Well, she won't be with us this week. If not next week, definitely should be back week after. But in the interim, you know what we still do. We still bring and serve that good cocktails and conversation. So what are we sipping on today?
Well, today we are sipping on a cocktail called Gold Rush. And it's a simple cocktail. It's bourbon, freshly squeezed lemon juice, a whole lemon. So freshly squeezed lemon juice of a whole lemon and honey syrup. And you make honey syrup by adding a cup of water and a cup of syrup. Let me slow down. Honey syrup. You make honey syrup by putting a cup of water and a cup of honey in a pan and letting it simmer down until all the water is evaporated. And that's how you make honey syrup. So you combine all ingredients in an ice-filled shaker, and then you shake for about 10 seconds and then strain over a ice-filled glass. Strain in an ice-filled glass. And that's it. Something simple. And
I'm muted and I'm talking. I said, that sounds like too much. That's a lot of work for a drink.
Yeah, you can prepare the honey syrup ahead of time. It's just bourbon, lemon juice, and honey syrup.
I wonder if you could just buy regular honey syrup off of,
I wouldn't be surprised because simple syrup is just water and sugar cooked down. It's kind of the same thing.
That's it. I didn't know that.
That's all simple syrup is.
I did not know that. You learn something every day. How about those things? How's your week been so far?
This week, let's see. What happened this week? Not too much. Oh no, let me correct myself. I have been braiding hair all week.
Okay.
I have one more head to do, which is my youngest daughter, and my fingers feel like this. And I'm trying to hurry up and get my youngest daughter head done so I can at least wash mine before my oldest daughter say, "Hey, Mom, it's about time for me to get my hair done." I'm like,
Oh my gosh!
It takes me so long. I'm one of those people who I will not do anything to my hair if my children's hair is not done. And
you know what? You gotta respect that.
Yeah, and I don't know why I just never have been able to do it. I'll walk around looking like a plucked chicken until their hair gets done. Thank goodness for natural. You can throw it up in a ponytail and it still look good.
I know. You know what? There's simplicity in having natural hair, and then on the other side, there's it's a lot of work. I don't know. At this point, I don't know if it's easier to have straight hair because I can wrap it and then just go to sleep and unwrap it, or if it's just easier that the fact that I can just wash my hair and literally just walk out the door and
wash and go. Yeah.
But the longer my hair has gotten, I'm always concerned with how it's going to dry, because how it dries is how I look. And it's not the cutesy little pixie cut curly that I had before. Now my hair is grown. It's grown a lot, as you can see. I have a full-fledged ponytail, a pull-up, and I don't even have to put barrettes at the back. So, normally you have to put barrettes at the back.
She got hang time, y'all. She got hang time.
I have lots of hang time, but it is still super, super complicated on the hair. So I understand the plight that you having to do a lot of hair, but at least you don't really have to worry too much about your own. So it's always,
I'm telling you, because I was like, it ain't happening yet.
Oh my gosh. So it's Women's History Month. And so I was a part of this for me. anthology series for this book called The Dream is in Your Hands, She Can Do It. And it was such a unique chapter that, you know, I was able to write. And it was all about, like, you write a letter to yourself. And my title was Love Yourself a Little More, Love a Little More, Love a Little Less. That was my title. And I wanted, it was really cute in how I wrote like a letter to, not to my younger self, but at the same time to be an inspiration for other women. And it was a super cool project. And then I received the email. It was right before we went on, we started airing. I received the email saying that the book hit the top 3 on the charts. And so that's absolutely makes me feel good to be a part of something on International Women's Day, a consolidation with a bunch of magnificent and amazing women who are out here changing history and being game changers in other ways in the community. And pillars, like real pillars in the community in terms of what they give back and how they inspire and who they influence and who influence and inspires them. Because I think it's a reciprocal process when, you know, you're feeling inspired and motivated. But then it also, hey mom. And then it also said that we hit the top 5 in another category and the top 10 in multiple categories. So shout out to everybody who supported this book.
Yes.
Go get it. It's a compilation of stories that are like, that resonate with you for change. I mean, my chapter was pretty special because I really did break down what loving yourself a little more and loving others a little less actually means. And it's a dope little chapter that I wrote. So definitely go check it out. So do you have your WCW for today? Because every Wednesday we do highlight magnificent women doing some things in their community, both, you know, whether or personal, you know, just any way that you can inspire someone else. And so who do you have for your WCW today? Do you have one?
I do, and this is quite interesting. Her name is Tabitha Babbitt. She was born in 1779. She died in 1853. She actually created the circular saw. Right. I was like, holy moly, what?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, she created the circular saw, false teeth, and hold on, false teeth and the spinning wheel. And so the reason why the circular saw was created because she was in a let me read it. She was a Shaker, which is Shaker. They're a Christian religion group that originated in Great Britain, and their original name was United Society of Believers in Christ. Oh, bless you. And so what happened was she was a tool maker and a inventor. And what she said, she created the saw because she noticed the other Shakers was having a hard time chopping wood, you know, going through wood, I guess, with the long saw back and forth. And she put the circular saw on her let me get it right. The spindle. You know what a spindle is? Yeah, she put the saw on the spindle and was wheeling around. That's how the circular saw was invented by a woman named Tabitha Babbitt. We can't hear you, but we got to work harder. We got to work smarter, not harder.
I know, from a simple spindle. That is so amazing. Shout out. That's a really good WCW because that's some good information to know, especially with it being Women's History Month.
Yeah, and I was like, let me try to find something because that's really interesting. So I got to share that one.
Okay, so my WCW goes by the name of Marita Golden. Marita she's a literary activist with Clyde Melkovine, and she co-founded the Zora Neale Hurston Richard Wright Foundation that has been supporting the international community of Black writers for over 3 decades. And she is still doing this to this day. And she actually resides in the DC metro area. If anybody does not know. Yeah, she resides in the DC metro area. And I happened to stumble across her. We crossed paths not too long ago because, you know, Jay had did a job, you know, was there. I guess they met up. And you know, he was talking about me being an author and all of that other stuff, and their conversation got started. So it's just absolutely amazing how you can, you know, just meet and then get connected through different ways. She also offers writing courses, and is very inspiring because when I say that She's done a lot. She's been on Oprah, C-SPAN. She's even been on Jeopardy. She's an NAACP award nominee. She also holds an Authors Guild Award. So, look, her accolades run long. And so she is definitely somebody, and I believe she's in her 70s now, who has done she has been doing the darn thing for a very, very long time, and definitely inspires me to do more and push more, towards the culture and everything. So that's my WCW, Marita Golden. Okay, and then let's talk about, because we'll soon have our guest come on. So let's talk about our guest for a little bit before we bring her on. We have guest Ariana Dugan, who's the vice president of product at an Austin-based Interplay Learning place, which I'm really interested as a children's book writer. I'm just kind of curious if there's any correlation. I don't think so, though, but it's just global provider of online and virtual reality training for the essential skilled trades. And as a professor and a writer, and just how that can contribute to kind of the things that she do, especially when you start talking about virtual reality. And I want to add that to my children's tour in every kind of way. So a lot of the stuff
that would be interesting,
including HVAC, plumbing, electrical, solar, multifamily maintenance, and facilities maintenance workforces. So talk about somebody who is going to be a really great, interesting guest today. She and also speak extensively on the topic of women in essential skilled trades. Here again, it is Women's History Month. And oftentimes, what I will say, you don't find many women who hold positions in HVAC and plumbing and electrical and solar. The margin is small. She's probably the only person I've ever known to do that, but I'm sure there's other women. So without further ado, we're going to bring on Ariana Dugan now. Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh my gosh, let's get started. So first of all, for our two people who, for our listeners and for those who are tuning in live right now, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, because you are out there doing something that you have to be like a 0.5% of women who are in your field.
Maybe. And I will clarify. So I am Ariana Dugan. I'm the VP of product at Interplay Learning. So I don't actually know even close to everything we teach. So I wouldn't count myself skilled trades, though I am very actively trying to learn how to do some of this stuff from my own home. But I've been at Interplay Learning for the last year. In general, throughout the course of my career, I've been very focused on how do you get adults the skills that are going to make them the most money in the job market today. So I started out at a nonprofit where we were working with 18 to 24-year-olds who had a high school diploma but no college degree, giving them technical and business communication skills. Moved into a couple other places, but then eventually landed at General Assembly, which is a coding boot camp really focused on tech skills for career changers, and spent about 7 years there really learning about the job market and really like, how do you help adults learn in ways that are really motivating? And how do you stay on top of the job market so that you're making sure you're giving them the best skills that are going to give them the best jobs? And now I've been at Interplay for a year, getting to dive into the skilled trades and the whole VR 3D simulation side of things, which has been new to me and fascinating, fun. We've got an incredible technology team that's super duper fun to work with.
So with the virtual reality, and are they actually in class learning the trade and the skills, but they use the virtual reality to actually participate?
Exactly, yeah. So we have like a platform with a bunch of video content on it. We sell it to companies, and these companies in the skilled trades have known for decades that they need to teach people as they're employing them. They've had apprenticeship programs for decades. And there's all these boomers who are retiring and who know all of those really, really important skills. In some of these are like, 3 to 10 people, mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
they're trying to find more scalable ways to teach the training. And thankfully, virtual reality has evolved enough that the headsets and the hardware, as much as the software and kind of like the gaming components of it, that we can provide that content to these companies so they can train in a more scalable. And what's really cool too is it's also a safer way. When you're working with live electricity, you're like running a risk of hurting yourself. So there's all these, it's just a safer way to learn it, as much as fun and you're in virtual reality, which is mind blowing the first time you do it.
So I have a question really quick. I know that virtual reality is becoming a big thing, but so is AI. Do you all plan to, I guess, have any of that crossing over along with your virtual reality opportunities or trainings that you provide?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, so when I think about AI, I think about data. And so when it comes to learning, there's all these great ways that you can use data to create a more personalized experience for the person who's going through the learning. So yes, that is generally on our radar. It might show up in things like, what content do we recommend to you? We've got hundreds of courses, so helping really measure and understand where you're at in your learning, and what your own goals and preferences are, like how much time do you have in a week? What do people like you also like to learn? So that's one space, learning recommendations. And then the other place is thinking about, in those simulations, are there interesting things we could do in terms of providing more nuanced feedback to people automatically through machine learning or AI as they're going through the program. So we've certainly, to your point, focused much more on the VR side, and started to apply the kind of machine learning on the learning recommendation side, but a lot more sophisticated stuff out there that we for sure want to try out and play with.
So what did it look like? Or maybe you weren't there. If it predates you, that's fine. What did it look like before, you went to the virtual reality? Or do you all still offer like the hands-on, but since you're moving to, I guess, virtual reality to make it more safer, at what point, what was the turning factor to say, you know what, I think it'll be much more advantageous for us to have assimilated learning versus actual hands-on for safety?
Yep. I think, well, first the technology just kind of had to like evolve. And when you think about how learning has evolved in the last couple decades, right, moving from textbooks to even just like online textbooks is one big shift in how colleges are administrating their content. So that's one of the first places. But a lot of the learning was, whether it was online or in person or physical, like either textbooks or in these lab environments at schools. And those lab environments did a pretty good job of keeping people safe, but they're expensive. They take up a lot of physical space. You're kind of limited in terms of how many of those environments you can have and the number of people who can use them. So I think really what it was, I don't know if you've followed or kind of seen anything about the early use cases of VR. And it's obviously like heavily used in the gaming industry, is I think where most people are familiar with it from. So in gaming industry, you see like companies like Facebook/Meta starting to put headsets out, and people just get like nauseous because just like what it's doing to your brain doesn't make sense to your brain, and the visual effects aren't quite right. And so your brain would be like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to feel nauseous now, and kind of like activating that, I think, vestibular system. And that was fairly recently too, that they were starting to put those types of headsets out. On the business side of things, there were early applications in the military and in the medical field for starting to use it in business applications. So I think it was those two things happening at once, just the hardware and the technology evolving in parallel to seeing how it could be practically applied for education and skill development, that eventually met in the middle. And we're certainly not the only company doing this and recognizing this opportunity, but as those two things converged, it definitely in addition to like online textbooks and online learning starting to pick up more and more pre-COVID, and then certainly during COVID, all those trends kind of, merged together, and now here we are.
Yeah, so I have to throw a whammy out there. I'm a children's book author, and one of the things that I love, even when I'm doing events for my kids and giving them different scientific tools, like I've worked with or partnered with the Mad Science of Chicago. They did an event before and had kids making different things. This year, I want to do virtual reality, which is, I think is the next best thing. But do you all do any outreach with kids to give them opportunities to learn in these simulation type environments? So kids, you can raise them young and they learn a lot of different things, like you teach children coding. But the dynamic that one of the things, like you say, there's some children that are kids, teenagers that don't finish high school, that, they want to go to a technical school or a vocational school for a skill. Is there an age that you all, work with people or offer for children this, just to have these assimilations to show them and say, hey, this is what out here, this is what's possible, just because it piques their interest,
Definitely. So we've started to explore high schools and trying to get into high schools. Unfortunately, technical programs that used to be more popular in the decades past have become less and less popular at high schools. We think maybe there's an opportunity now, even in just like positioning it as, you're both getting to learn and engage with a new technology and learn a really valuable skill that could be a really viable alternative to going to college for you. So we've just started to explore there. We have also had a really cool success story with a library down in Georgia where they bought some licenses from us and are giving them out to their patrons. And one of the cool things there is we've seen, like, I think 80% of the people who have used it in that library are women. I'm not sure how that demographic breaks down by age, but it's been cool to see, like, when we think creatively about distribution and who is kind of like a central spot in a community that we can get these licenses into, that kids or women might also be going to as well. That's been some of the cooler success stories.
So now go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to ask, because of the virtual reality, which is really, really cool, it gets you more engaged. Do you think that maybe there may be some parts of the trade, or some things that you just have to learn hands-on, maybe that step may be missed because of the virtual reality?
That's a really good question. I had this flash. I love bringing people into the company and onto my team. I'm like, Lisa, do you want to work for me and ask her questions like that? I think, one of the things we have focused a lot on troubleshooting to start out with our content, and troubleshooting in some ways is a very logical, ordered process, right? Like, the heat isn't working. There's like 5 different things I can check. And that's fairly easy. I don't want to like downplay our technology team, but that's fairly easy to do in a simulation and to replicate. And it's you're teaching someone to problem solve as much as you are teaching them to work in the equipment. There are newer things that we're breaking into, like carpentry, which as you were talking about the circular saw in your WCW, I was like, oh yeah, carpentry, related to what we're trying to go into next. But if you think about just the fact that you're working with like big, like long pieces of wood and measuring tape, which is a very different experience in VR or simulations than it is to just like turn a thermostat on and off and like check if the air is flowing or not. So I think it's really a question as we look for new opportunities to do different things in virtual space that are trying to replicate bigger and bigger physical spaces. That's where we continue to push our own technology and how we create that content in order to accommodate it. So it's not nearly as cut and paste almost as the troubleshooting content is.
Wow, that's so interesting. So now I have a question in terms of your career projections or trajectory. Mm-hmm. So now you're the vice president of products.
Yeah.
Let's go back 10 years that groomed you to that place, because you don't just end up there. So tell me about your trajectory there that just said, I'm so interested in all of these different things. Remember, I said a woman in the field that that has an eye, even for a simulation or VR, in such a very specific, skilled, a skilled position or skilled positions. So what was let's go 10 years. What was your trajectory to vice president of product? And if you've been vice president of product for 5, let's go back a little longer than that got you to that place.
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to do the math in my head, and I was just like, whatever, screw it. I'm just going to start in college. And I was a creative writing major in college, and I really give my dad a lot of credit for not squashing that, because his perspective was learning to communicate through writing is valuable. Like, you can become an artist if you want, but like, I trust and believe in you, and I think the skill is going to be valuable no matter what. And on this, I had also always had a true joy in math and some of the STEM fields, but I just never felt confident pursuing it, which I think, especially when I was going to college, was maybe a little bit more common for women, just that kind of like insecurity about going into STEM. Now there's a bunch of great programs that encourage women to go into those fields. But I stuck with my writing passion and moved into this nonprofit where I was writing curriculum for students around business communication and some of the technical skills that they would need in these apprenticeship programs that they were going into. These apprenticeship programs were in kind of like banks or I'm trying to think of who else like consulting companies. So we would help them get those apprenticeships, and I was writing the content to help get them there. So that was kind of the first step from like moving from writing for fun to writing for work. And then then I had 2 great colleagues at that nonprofit who were like, we appreciate your passion. You need to go make some money before you like fully commit your life to working at a nonprofit. So they really encouraged me to go even deeper into the business world and really just understand general management operations. I worked at a company called McMaster Carr that did a really great job doing a management rotation program. So all of a sudden, I was starting to round out my career in a way that I certainly hadn't intentionally planned for, but that ended up working in my favor, where I was getting this understanding of how a business works and how an operation runs, along with continuing to deepen my expertise in how do you teach adults to learn and match skills to the job market. Because while I was at McMaster, I also started writing their onboarding program. So I was always keeping like training active in some capacity, even as I was learning the business side of things. And then I ended up at General Assembly, which is where I really built my career from like individual, doing the work up the ladder. So in a product career, there's kind of like 3 main pillars, I would say, and you should be great at one and hopefully really good at 2. And it's the third one is like, well, you'll pick it up as you go. So the 3 things are being an expert in what your product is and the area that you're serving. So my expertise was getting built along the way around adult education and skills, being good on the business side and understanding strategy, which is what I had been building at McMaster. And then the last piece is technology, which I hadn't been spending a lot of my career in, but certainly still had an interest dating back to my like math and the philosophy of the infinite classes in college. So as I was at General Assembly, actually, even before going there, I explicitly asked, is this a company where you're open to people moving laterally and doing different things? Like, I'm sure, as you know, like plenty of companies just hire you and like want to keep you in sales and develop you there and invest in you that way. But General Assembly was really great. And as they hopefully should be as a learning company, saying, no, if we see potential and you want to try something new and it's a good transferable role, you can definitely do that. So I started out in instructional design. My first chief product officer that I got to work for, Shirin Vijayanagam, like saw something in me, and he was like, you should do product management. Like, you know a lot about the courses you are writing about, which was data courses at the time. You know a lot about why companies want to teach their people these skills. And I think you can help us really kind of like pitch it and package it in a way that makes it really easy to buy for customers. So that was then how I took all of this kind of like funny mix of things and then really kicked off the product part of my career. And thankfully, because so much of what I'd been doing along the way was working with people, I had some of the basic intuitions around being a good manager, seeing and understanding how a team operates. So once I was very lucky that I became the product manager of our data courses, because data, as you know, became hugely popular. And suddenly I was like owning this portfolio of products that was really valuable purely because I lucked into it. And that just kind of got me more visibility. I had the right skills to move into management roles and director roles, and had a ton of great people along the way to point me in the right direction. So at one key moment, I think I would say that was, and sorry, I feel like it's such a long answer. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
There was last leg of it. As there was a moment where we were reorganizing how the business was run, and I think always having a sense of what was going to be most important in the business next, or having at least a good sense of it, or good guess, served me well. Like it's kind of served me well in that data case. And then in this case, as the business was reorganizing, they moving on to the B2B side of the business. So not selling to individuals and running classroom courses, but selling to businesses who wanted to train their employees. I specifically chose that side because of how I thought it would be valued in the business. And I think that helped me along the way to get the experience I needed to eventually go up to the VP side of things.
Yeah. If you can go back and do anything different because you now see like, oh my gosh, if I would have did this, I could have gotten here faster, or I would have made this different decision. What would that be? What would you tell yourself in hindsight now, looking at where you're at? Because you, like you said, you started out a whole different way than where you are at. So in hindsight, what would you tell yourself that you've learned along the way?
I think, let's see. I don't think I would make any different decisions. I think I just would have like cut myself some slack more often. Like, I just like remember some nights staying there. Some of those late nights needed to be late nights. And sometimes I'm like, what was I thinking? Like that did not need to be as like perfectly arranged as I thought it needed to be. And it would have been better if I had spent more time thinking about the people who are going to be in the room and how can I connect with them, and just staying present in the room rather than trying to like think 2 steps ahead, but kind of like getting in my own way in terms of how I ended up showing up then.
Oh, I think that's so profound. I really do. And that's something that you connected with so easily. You was like, oh, let me think about it. But no, it's such a profound statement when you can go back and say, you know what? I wish I would have been present. I wish I would not have been so hard on myself. I wish I would have given myself some grace and some slack, because the end result of what I was doing would have still happened because of my greatness.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. So if will you consider yourself a very like, I like to work, I'm working type of person?
Kind of. I do have like much better boundaries now. And I live in DC. One of my sisters is down here with her husband and my nephew. I love spending time with them. So I think I have more fruitful things going on in my life outside of work now than maybe I did in my 20s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all like in the same region.
Oh, nice. Okay, I kind of stalked you a little bit in advance. I thought Louisa was in and around DC, but I couldn't tell where you were, Dr.
I know I'm always everywhere. I live in Maryland, but in the DC metro area. I used to live in DC. I used to work downtown DC for several years. And then I resigned to work 100% for myself. But yeah, I did that commute on the MARC train quite a bit.
Yes.
Quite a bit. So I do know that, but even still, there are people who live in Washington, D.C. that still works and work and work. And you say you put boundaries in place, but do you consider those boundaries how you also find that balance?
Well, there's my boundaries. And one of the things that I rave about where I currently work is our CEO and the leadership team have done an incredible job like setting the ethos for the company. And I like almost have it memorized because I think it's only 5 sentences. But one of the parts of it is we celebrate the fact that our work fits our lives and not the inverse. So there is really great like example setting, modeling. That phrase gets like said over and over in plenty of team and company meetings. So it's almost like I can just walk the talk on it. Now, thankfully, I don't have to spend as much time like figuring out how to make it work. And I will also say working remotely also, you know, that's like an hour and a half back in my day, not commuting. So that makes a big difference too.
Yeah.
I'm
so
sure that
what
that's
is-
a big thing. I'm sure.
Oh, I'm
Travel is,
sure.
oh my God.
I am sure. So I do have a question. When being in leadership roles do still carry some level of responsibility.
Oh yeah.
So how do you, especially when you kind of come up in the ranks and you have to learn the structure of leadership and team leading and leading a team and all of those things. So how long did it take for you to be able to release, let go, and learn how to delegate?
Oh, that's a good one. I thought we were just going to stop and say release and let go. And I was like, I mean, I'm still learning to do that. Delegating I can do much better now. I think I will say realizing the moment that I had to contribute more to strategy than to just getting things done or even helping my team get things done. I think that was the moment, which was kind of when I shifted from director to VP at General Assembly. And it's nice and scary at the same time to really understand like, oh no, people really want to know what I think, but I don't know what I think yet because I haven't spent time thinking about this strategy. So I need to make time to think about this. And it's awkward and strange too, because you're like, oh, I don't want to just like sit here thinking and like Googling stuff and like looking at research and papers. It doesn't feel like I'm doing something. And I think that mental transition of knowing that I am contributing, even if I'm not like moving my hands or like producing a PowerPoint deck or something like that, is still really valuable at a company and why they're promoting hopefully good leaders.
Oh, I love that. So here's a whammy.
Okay.
What have you learned most about yourself in the role that you're in now versus when you was the director? What have you learned most? Because everybody sees you differently, but then how you see yourself can be a little bit different. So what have you learned about yourself the most during your time as VP of product?
And what are you most proud of?
Oh, nice. Wait, I'm going to write that down too, because I'm definitely going to forget to say what I'm proud of. So this is both like through work, through therapy, through church. I feel like in the last 2 years, I've realized a thing about myself that I didn't think was true, which is I'm kind of unforgiving on myself sometimes. And the reason it has been really important for me to pay attention to that in this role. I mean, it matters across my life, but in the context of this role, if I realized these like very minute ways that it was showing up in my relationships with my team, and how easy it is to kind of confuse striving for excellence with actually just being kind of unforgiving about how close or far we are from achieving results. So that was kind of surprising because on the whole, like, I think I'm easy to get along with and friendly. Like I'm not a tough cookie. But it was just those like subtle things that I was like, oh crap, like I gotta like weed that out and figure out how to make more room to breathe and be forgiving of myself so I can be more forgiving of my team.
That's so awesome to say, and such a very great reflection on what you've learned about yourself. So like Louisa said, what are you most proud of?
Yeah, I have gotten to build a team in the course of this year at Interplay Learning. And I'm like so proud of, we've just like hit this turning point in the last couple months where like everyone's owning their work. They have great ideas and can just play with them and test and try them out without feeling like they need approval and can just run with it. I'm very proud that it's a really diverse team too. I think our company does a really good job focusing on that. And this is like this is a thing specific to product, but I've seen teams agonize over it. Like just having a roadmap that's easy to understand and be like, this is what we're going to aim for in the year ahead that you can talk to customers about and get them excited for. I've agonized over it in the past in other contexts. It was incredible to see like how easily it came about with this team, both the team that I get to work with of product managers and technology leads, as much as the CEO and leadership team. It's such a great culture to be a part of. And so I've been proud to do well in that culture and have an artifact like a roadmap out there to get people excited about.
Well, quick question then. Let's go to the fun side of this.
Okay.
Do you guys get to try out the trades on the virtual reality? Like, do you have to participate? And so you can kind of explain to the students and whoever come in, well, this isn't that, blah, blah, do you actually have to get your hands dirty, it's so to speak?
I did not plan to, I didn't realize this was next to me, but this is my VR headset. Yeah. It's also a great party thing to have and let all your friends try. It blows people's minds. It really I understood my brain differently after I played around in VR. I didn't realize or appreciate fully, like, oh yeah, my world is visual. So whatever I'm seeing is what my body and everything else about me thinks is real. So being in virtual reality, because the technology is so good, is so immersive that you truly forget, or I at least forget that I'm in my living room and I feel like I'm in like a little meditation area in a temple, which that's not part of our content. That's like something else. You want to oversell everything we do. Or fixing an HVAC unit, which is also very empowering, but less meditative.
So when you go into virtual reality, I'm trying to think if I've ever really done it for a long period of time. I'm trying to think, because when I've seen people online and they're in these virtual reality spaces and they're running into walls and that is a real thing. VR injuries. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it almost makes you feel kind of scared to even try this. So how do you encourage people to even participate in VR activities or even simulations, and I don't know, is it good for the brain then to be tricked like that?
These are all like great questions. And there are people like so much smarter than me answering them and researching them, because honestly, in the same way that like we have to think about the ethics of data and access to the internet and everything, now that we're kind of looking back and being like, oh crap, like this, hopefully we're going to do a little bit better on the VR side, though nobody's going to be perfect for sure. So I would say it is like truly just in terms of like physically safe space, just like be in an open room. There's also, I know plenty of like the Arts and Industries Museum just opened with an exhibit of the future, and they have an AR exhibit, which is a fun, I think like museums and libraries are doing like lots of cool programming if you just want to try something for the first time. Then if you want to like commit to buying a $300 headset, which isn't like super cheap, but not too bad. That's how much an Oculus Quest costs. And then you just like go in and try a bunch of apps and make sure you're in a living room with a lot of space. They do a very good job with the basic UI of you create a boundary in virtual reality that is based on your physical space. So if you get close to that boundary in VR, it like flashes red and tells you like you're getting close to your boundary. So there's some very good things baked in that keep you safe. It's just to the point of it being so immersive, people get so into it, they just kind of like lose that.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I've never even thought about other than seeing all the injuries taking place online, it always makes me leery to be like, okay, how healthy is this for my brain? Is 5 years from now, they're going to say any time that you've been in a virtual reality space that, you just alter your DNA in the way that you think, so it always makes me a little bit fearful. But then from what you all are doing, and the level of safety that you all can provide for those people who are in these skilled trade fields, especially carpentry and working with wet saws and all of this, as you're getting to know, so that way it's better to probably do it in virtual reality where you're not really taking your whole hand off.
I was just going to say, lose a few fingers.
Lose a few fingers while you're practicing. So I love what Interplay Learning is doing for the community of people who are in these skilled trade fields that are very important and really keep America running. In my opinion, I need my AC. Yes. I need my plumbing. I need my electrical. I need my maintenance. Facilities is important. So what you all are really doing and teaching and grooming people to become better at. And I guess you can say that even if you have, let's say you went to school for that skill, I'm assuming you can actually enhance your skill set by doing these virtual realities, because you're already familiar with a process. But if you really want to get really good at it, assimilation through VR would probably be best.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Did you read our? That's spot on. That is our product marketing. You nailed it.
Well, see, and I didn't even have to look that up.
She was in the meeting in the back, virtually.
Yeah, I'm the fly on the wall. No, so here's the thing. I mean, to be really honest, as a college business professor, one of the things that I don't typically cover is VR, but we do in my class talk about technological advancements and AI, for example, AI. And when you look at skilled trade professions, and I don't teach that. I mean, I'm a business professor, but I don't teach skilled trade. But I do know, when you're doing research and you're looking at different companies and for how they are achieving the success that they are achieving. And when you start looking at training, here again, I'm a professor, so training is one of the things that I do. When you look at different training models, and you start looking at safety and the number of deaths and how you can minimize that, and also is cost effective on your insurance when you start putting things in place for training, because you have less accidents and less room for injury. You also reduce your workman's compensation. So here again, that's my budget experience, having workman's comp, but you reduce your workman's compensation, but you can enhance your training. So it's like an offset for one for the other by providing that the safety training. To me, I consider that safety training or training in a much more safe environment. So I love what Interplay Learning is actually doing for the skilled trade professions.
Yes. And I think to your point, going back to these are jobs that you and I definitely want people to be doing. They are jobs that not nearly as many people are going into as they were before. So anything we can do to make it safer, to make it more fun, and to make it cheaper to learn those things too. All of that is why I'm really passionate about what we're doing, because better careers, better lives is our motto. And I'm like, yes, let's get
you should probably add that the money is good.
Yes, the money's good. The money's good. You set your own schedule. Yeah, really. I mean, and especially there's not, there's plenty of hands-on jobs, but I'm used to sitting at my computer all day and being on Zoom. And I'm like, God, it would be nice to just walk around and see other people's homes and set my own schedule and just get to,
or not set your own schedule, because depending on the HVAC and facilities and all of these other, really demand, that's truly a demand that sometimes if you're at a specific company, then there's holidays, there's weekends, there's snow days, there's extremely hot days, there's midnights, there's 20, some do run 24 hours, but then that's why the money is also so good, because there's a need for that. So I would just, highly recommend anyone, I guess you all do training to sell for B2B, so for business to business. So how does someone, I guess, determine like how to go about getting training, if they were interested in that, or is there something that they should be looking at for business purposes, to say, if I'm interested in that, I'm looking for companies, what would be that target word to Google for that specific level of training if they decide they want to go into that field?
So I dominantly focus on the B2B side, but we do have a B2C offering. So if someone did want to try it, they could do it for I think $25 a month. So you could just like check it out that way. You don't have to have a VR headset. Those simulations run on a computer, they run on a tablet. So you could definitely play around. And there's like a 30-day free trial. So I'm not gonna try to get people to pay me $25 just to try something out. So 30-day trial, you can go for that here. I would also say, I do think there's lots of great apprenticeship programs around the country that are recruiting super hard, are trying to get women into them, trying to get anyone into them. But like one of the things that I think it's like single-digit percentages of women in the skilled trades.
Wow.
So there's a lot of organizations that are trying to adjust that because of how good paying these jobs are. So I would say just looking up state apprenticeship programs is probably a really good place to start. They would give you both information about what you'll learn, but also the companies that you could potentially work for. I know some of them have free short training programs as well. So I would look up your kind of state apprenticeship programs and start there.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, this was so informative and so enlightening. And I love what Interplay Learning is doing. Hey, I'm a fan of what you're doing. That means I'm gonna have to go and test out this virtual reality.
Well, I know we're all in the area, you can come on over and try VR headset.
Before I go and buy one and scare myself to death and probably never use it again. Definitely, I'll take you up on that.
Great.
But we definitely appreciate you stopping by, and oh my God, we much more continued success for everything you do. Hopefully you'll be president of the product at some point. Moving on, continue moving up and striving for greatness. Happy Women's History Month to you. And like I said, much more continued success for you.
Thank you both so much. I wish the same for you too. This has been lovely. Thank you for
having me on the show.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye. Oh,
that was wow.
Super interesting. I really do. Now I feel like I want to try. I'm definitely going to have to try it because
my daughter.
I'm scared in some sense, but
because I do see videos of people running into walls. I see videos of like this crazy, because they don't have, like she said, the boundaries, and so you're kind of going all over the place. So, but I think that'd be cool.
I would love to use it to see how, for exercise purposes or, yoga settings or even what games you can play for a game night. And like I said, one of the things that I want to do is add a virtual reality component to my kids' red carpet event, because I do think that that's where we're moving to. I mean, but I'm wondering how often people will be checking out. It's like, I don't feel like being here. Let me just go on vacation. I'm gonna lay out on the beach and sip on something really quick. So
while that dinner is cooking and burning.
I know, right? Let me take me 15 minutes to go and hit this island or beach or something like that and just lay out in the sun. Because psychologically your mind, the way that it will process it, I'm just curious into the learning of it. That might be a really good way for me to be learning Spanish in a virtual reality, because you can, if there is a course or something that would assimilate you having a conversation, it's not that serious. You didn't have to lean down. All I saw was hair. Assimilate to be able to kind of speak to somebody. So I'm wondering if that is out there. There's so much stuff that's out there that exists for technology that can make
that'd be so cool though.
Would be.
That'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm. So now I'm curious. Now I'm super curious. So, this has definitely been a good show, even though we don't have two of our people with us, but it's still been really, really nice. So where can people connect with you at?
You can find me at the Blue Phoenix Hills on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Also doing skits and short films. We just did two. Well, we just did a scary short film. It was a little funny too.
Is
And
that the
then we
one you
just
sent me? I
called
still need to watch
Shadow.
that. Yeah, I still need
Yeah,
to watch
it's
that.
called Shadow. It's a quick and it's like really really quick.
Okay.
Um, it was so fun. We got together one night, said, "Hey, let's shoot a movie real quick," and we did it. And so it was really really cool. And then that same night we did like a little funny skit, silly skit too. So it's both of those are on Red Vision Cinema on YouTube. And then
Oh,
we're working on other movies. Yeah, so yeah, that's
also,
all, you know.
have them check it out. You all go check it out and drop some comments and feedback.
Please, please. Because we're planning on doing more just to get the content going and just do little quick, little short, non-scripted movies while we're working on our scripted full-length film. So yeah.
Oh, you out here just doing the damn thing. You go, girl. Of course, you can find me at I am Dr. P. Gurley, IAMDRPGURLEY. And of course, like always, if you like today's show, hit the tip jar.
Put that money in there.
www.buymeacoffee.com/HerspirationHH. And for the Herspiration brand, you can reach us on Facebook at Herspiration Happy Hour. Because, if you're viewing us here, unless you're viewing us on YouTube, also, follow us on our YouTube channel, subscribe, hang out, leave comments, feedback. We love that. And then I always mess up with Twitter. It's Herspiration HH on Twitter. And on Instagram, we are under our, main company, DAW Entertainment. And so, there's a lots of great content that's coming up. As a matter of fact, let me see our next guest, which is surprising. Now, remember I said, when I was on here last time, I said we were booked out till when?
I think April, the middle of April, end of April.
Okay, but we are now full-fledged into May.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the next available date is May 11th. I know, right?
Okay, y'all.
Seriously. It's March 9th, and we are booking now for April. So, April 11th is the next date that we have.
Oh, May 11th. May 11th.
May 11th, not April. Yeah, May 11th is the next open date for our feature. If you're interested in being featured, just hit that right there and it'll tell you, or dawentertainment.com/podcast if you are tuning in audio wise. So you want to make sure if you click that, it just says want to be featured. Click that button and it's going to take you there. Our next guest on the next show, her name will be Beth Griffiny Manley. That's our next guest on Herspiration Happy Hour. I tell you, I'm excited about all of these guests and what they do and what we are learning from it, because these are they're doing some things, some of them I've never heard of before.
And that makes it so cool.
Yeah, it really does. It really absolutely does. So I'm grateful for this platform. Like I said, you all would definitely want to make sure and always keep it free so that way we can continue to inspire you. So, and the tip jar is also on our website. So you inclined to hit those tips and buy some drinks. We will gladly appreciate it. And do you have anything else that you want to let our audio, our listeners and our viewers know?
I just want to thank them for being our, I'm about to say clients, our audience. I just want to thank you guys for continuously following us, leaving your comments, telling us what you like or don't like. I just want to say thank you, because without you, we wouldn't, be able to do what we do.
And we wouldn't be booked out to May.
Exactly.
So we also love taking time out and hanging out with you all just as much as you all like hanging out with us. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy evening to come and have a little bit of cocktails and conversations, or mocktails and conversations with us. And with that, have a really great rest of the week. And we still have more for Women's History Month coming up.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.